Hello. Today our adventures in exploring the genre of folk horror continues with a book. The book is called The Unmothers by Leslie J. Anderson. I got about a third of the way through, was thoroughly enjoying it, but I had to put it down to beta read a manuscript for a client, which turned out to be a wonderful experience, by the way. But now that that's done, I can get back to reading, for the sake of reading. When I beta read, I'm all in. I can't divide my time and read other books, too, in my free time. I just can't do it. So, yeah, it's going to be fun to return to this my first impressions of the book. Well, what made me buy it is it was pitched as like a kind of a Wicker Man with horses, like an equestrian version of Wicker Man. And the reviews say, like, if you love Midsommar, if you love Wicker Man, if you love True Detective Season 1. I haven't seen all of the True Detectives, but Season 1 stands out in my mind as one of the quintessential true crime. I think it's one of the best seasons of television, like, I've ever experienced of any TV show. I can't even get over how good that was. And that's definitely folk horror, True Detective Season 1. So, yeah, I've got Midsommar, I've got Wicker Man, True Detective Season 1 all on my mind. Like, yeah, I'm picking that thing up. Now, I don't love horses. I got bit by one once and I got kicked off one. I used to love horses. When I saw the Black Stallion in theaters, I wanted to be a jockey. I wanted to have horses. I was so in love with them. I love unicorns. I'd ride a unicorn any day off into the sunset, but horses, no can do. But I do have to say, though, I had good experience with horses too, but I didn't pick up the book because I love horses, that wasn't part of it. So my first impressions so far, third of the way in, Leslie Anderson is excellent at building atmosphere and just making everything feel very unsettling. I'm incredibly intrigued, have no idea what the hell is going on. I like the main protagonist enough to be interested and care. She hasn't really gotten into, like, the real full character development yet. That's kind of a slow unraveling. I suspect as the book goes on, I'm going to care more and more about her, which will be good, because the more you care about your characters, the more there is at stake, and the scarier it gets. It reminds me more of True Detective so far than Wicker Man or Midsommar, but again, I'm only a third of the way through. It's early days. It reminds me of True Detective if there's a reporter at the center of the story instead of a detective. That's kind of the rundown. So let's go to voiceover for a few, and I will read the book description. Marshall is still trying to put the pieces together after the death of her husband. To get her back on her feet, her editor sends her to the small town of Rayford to investigate a ridiculous rumor that a horse has given birth to a healthy human baby boy. When Marshall arrives in Rayford, she finds an insular community that is kinder to the horses. They are famous for breeding than to their own people. But when two horribly mangled bodies are discovered in a field, one a horse, one human, she realizes there may be a real story here. As she is pulled deeper into the town and its guarded people, her sense of reality is tipped on its head. Is she losing her grip? Or is this impossible story the key to a dark secret that has haunted the women of Rayford for generations? Unbearably tense and utterly gripping, this atmospheric tale of female rage, bodily autonomy, and generational trauma hails the arrival of a masterful new storyteller. This is where the book magic happens. So yeah, I'm just gonna get a little B-roll of me reading. Don't worry, I won't stay on that for very long. I'm officially at the halfway point. Oh yeah. Wow, just that 25% more. I definitely am sympathizing and empathizing with the main character. So yeah, my investment in the story, it's starting to get creepier. And wow, the writing is just superb. So far, I would give this book 5 out of 5 stars. Of course, we know that sometimes by the time a book ends, a lot can happen through half of the book. Heck, a lot can happen through the last quarter of a book that can ruin a really good book. But I'm not getting a sense this book is going to take any weird turns as far as jumping the shark and ruining what feels like a really solid folk horror read. The Unmothers book vlog continues. I'm so excited. I'm to about 25% left. And some shit's been going down, let me tell you. Yeah, we're starting to get to what's going on in the woods. And it's really good. One other thing I wanted to talk about with this book is, as somebody who knows somebody that I am incredibly close to, who struggles with opioid addiction, in particular, heroin and fentanyl. This book Leslie J. Anderson either has gone through addiction herself or knows somebody who's gone through it. I'm convinced, because the depiction of opioid addiction is done with such grace and sensitivity, and it's also very hard-hitting because it's so accurate. So, and this is a very small town in a rural area, and there is somebody at the heart of the town who's using it to his advantage, to use people. It's basically like the dealer. And prey on their vulnerabilities and on their addictions and feed that addiction to get what he wants. So that is very, very relevant, and I've been amazed by that. And then also teen pregnancy. It's been, again, approached with sensitivity and compassion, and just, it's so real. It's so realistic. And just, this book could not, it's like, I feel like, yeah, I couldn't be reading it at a better time. So I want to finish this book and this ongoing book vlog. So I'm going to get to it. I'm going to read, cuddle with some kitties. I'm in my PJs, of course. My cozy reading corner. Got my coffee. It's Saturday. I do what I want. So let's keep this going. Lily's assuming the position. Whoa. Well, this is not going to be very easy to read like this, honey. No. No, it's not. No, it's not. Chapter 4. Brown. Father Brown checked his watch as the last person pulled out of the driveway. Mass had run late, and he thought he really should go check on Thomas and see if he could be of any help, even if only for emotional support. He shook his sleeve back over the watch face and sighed, long and loud, as if God might hear and take pity. First, chores. He cleaned the church, doing so with the same focus and reverence he felt as a boy, in awe of a much larger, much more beautiful church he grew up in. He swept the whole place, poking the corner of his broom into the cracks between pew and floor, wall and floor, door and floor, altar and floor. There was trash in there that he would never get out. Pocket lint and M&M bits and mud and horse shit that would never ever leave the cracks and crevices of his church. That wasn't the point. The ritual was the point. He wiped the benches. He placed the hymnals straight and centered in the backs of the pews. He then went to the small fridge in the front room and pulled out a box of brown sugar and a gallon of milk. He walked into the graveyard. 6 graves had silver bowls either on top of the stones or, if they were too old and thin, set in front. He had their names memorized: Elizabeth Attlbury, Gretchen Carver, Gregory Washington, and so on. He arrived at Honor Harrison and poured the milk into the bowl, then opened the sugar. It had solidified into rocky chunks, as brown sugar always did, and he grumbled as he struck the box against the headstone until the clumps broke into pieces. He measured out 3 small pieces, dropped them into the milk, and then went to the next. Sometimes he glanced over his shoulder at the woods, the damned mist still lurking around the underbrush and tree roots. Every time his weakness made him look, he scolded himself. He should have more composure. He should have more courage in the Lord to protect him. He peeked again. Before he went back to the church, he took a deep breath and scanned the tree line openly. But he didn't see it today. Today, at least, it did not hunt him or judge him or shadow him through the headstones. Maybe it was busy elsewhere. He hoped it had not been attracted by Thomas's misfortune. He'd set boundaries. He had rules for precisely how much superstition he would allow, but there were things that must be done. The last priest was very clear about that, had told stories about what happened to keepers of the church who did not stock brown sugar in their cupboards, who did not light the red candle on the full moon or dust the front steps with salt. There were things that were required. There were things that were required of him. He hated them down to the cracks and crevices of his soul, and he raged against them, even as he did them loyally, meekly, obediently. The ritual was important. I finished it. I'm emotionally fucking wrecked. Holy wow. The time is perfect for this book. Yeah, you'll hear more about it, but I'm going to end this reading vlog by saying this is a very satisfying read. Yeah, this will be a 5-star rating for me. So, thank you for joining me on my first ever book vlog. And yes, I will be giving it like an official review in the very near future. I hope you have a great day. And as promised, here's the review. 5 out of 5 stars. The most perfect folk horror tale for the times. As empowering as it is frightening. As timely as it is ancient. This is a story of women who know their power and the ancient beings who will always have our backs. Never underestimate the women who never truly leave the forest, especially when we rise up together. The end. They're being taunted by a squirrel. Where's the squirrel?